Hi everyone, hope you're doing well. Kartik sir here. We are now doing the second chapter of audit and which is called as audit strategy, audit planning and audit program. Again, it is covered in the series of chapter number 1, 2, 6 and 11 which are the simpler chapters which you can easily grab the marks. These concepts are not that heavy. You can easily score good marks in this. Okay. Let's go for it. Let's do it one by one. Let's see this. First, we are going to see into the planning part. So, audit planning is covered in a standard called as say 300. So, let's do that one by one. What are the benefits of planning? So, if you do the planning, not in relation to audit work only, in relation to normally in your life, if you do planning, what are the benefits of it? So, the benefits of planning are as under. Let's do one by one. First is you can give appropriate attention to important areas. You can resolve the potential problems. You can select the team members that you need. So, you can select the team members based on their capability and competence. You can coordinate the work better because you will be planning properly. Your coordination of work will be better. That is coordination of work. Because your plan, if it is there in place and working properly, it is easily possible for you to delegate the work. So it is easily possible for you to direct someone, supervise someone, and also review their work. And finally, your work in general will be more organized and managed. That is basically what I'm saying here. That is called planning benefits. Okay, we have done a small chart in the class. You can just go through that. Okay, let's go further. That is this answer. Planning is a continuous and iterative process. Continuous and iterative process basically means it has to be, we have to keep on seeing whether the plan is working or not. We have to keep on checking whether the plan is on point, whether we are going to reach our goal or not. So for that reason, because of which factors for an auditor, the planning becomes a continuous process because auditor has to continuously deal with experts because we have to take into account the complexity of various businesses. Auditor has to understand the legal and regulatory framework, which also can keep changing regularly. We have to also see that the company is operating under which law or which authority or which regulatory body. Example, banks will be working under RBI, correct? RBI is a regulatory authority for banks. Then materiality is something that may change if the risk is more than the auditor's materiality benchmark. In the materiality benchmark, performance materiality level will fall down. Okay, that is if significant matters are there. Then in that case, the auditor will change the materiality benchmark so that materiality benchmark, when I say it, I mean performance materiality, so that the auditor can check more areas. Analytical procedure is also one of the areas that the auditor will keep on checking on a continuous basis because you can apply analytical procedures at the planning phase, testing phase, and also at the conclusion phase. Okay. Next is the risk assessment procedures. You have to understand the entity and its environment on a regular basis. You know this answer very well, called as REOFINS. Applicable financial reporting framework, regulatory industry factors, objectives and strategies, financial performance, nature of the entity, and selection and application of accounting policies. Okay. Finally, we have the last point, that is internal control. Also, the auditor has to check. Okay. So E-UMR is the code. So you have to continuously check E-UMR on a continuous basis to see whether the plan is on track or not, and whether because of EUMR whether there are any changes or not. Okay. Next is whenever you are planning, you have to involve the engagement partner, the main partner who is doing the audit work, and also the other key members in the audit team in planning. They will share their insights and experience, thereby enhancing the effectiveness of the effectiveness and efficiency of the planning process. Your planning process becomes much more smoother. Next, discuss elements of planning with the management of the company also. So once the auditor is ready with his plan, he can discuss the plan with the management. Maybe not too much in depth, but at least the overall basis he can discuss with the management. Okay, let's go further. Next is in relation to we'll do this in answer now. Just a second. Okay. Now we are doing something called as planning process, that is elements of planning. Okay. Again, a very important answer. This you need to know properly. This is having, two big areas. First area is called preliminary engagement activities, which has three parts, which you can see here. First is acceptance and continuance of client relationship and audit engagements. The second part, my dear students, is this area which you can see here, which is evaluating the compliance of ethical requirements, including independence. And the third area is establishing an understanding of the terms of the engagement. So these are the three areas under A. So let's complete this first, then I'll take you to the B part. Okay, so let's do the A part first and let's understand this properly. Let's see this. Let's look here. When you accept and continue any client relationship, what all do you check? First of all, whenever you have to accept and continue any client relationship, you have to see whether the people with whom you are going to work, are they good people or not. So regarding the client, you will check their integrity of the principal owners and the key management. Whenever you are going to do any kind of work, any kind of engagement you are going to do, any kind of audit work you are going to do, you have to see whether you can genuinely do it or not. For that, you have to check the competence of your engagement team, and you have to also check the capability, whether they have the capability or not to get the work done. Also, last point is you have to check whether the relationship between you and the client are good or not. For that, you have to check implications of matters that have arisen during current or in the previous audit. Also, you will, before accepting any audit work, you have to always communicate with the predecessor auditor. Predecessor auditor. This is how you will accept and continue with the client relationship. Let's go further. Now, evaluating the compliance of ethical requirements, including independence. Here they have said, first of all, the engagement partner who is there has to remain alert at all times, and he has to observe and inquire whether ethical requirements are being followed or not, and there is no violation. So here they have said, if there is any non-compliance with ethical requirement by the members, and if matters come to attention of the engagement partner, then he has to consult with others within the firm, let's say the senior persons in the firm, and take appropriate action. So the engagement partner should discuss with the other people in the firm and take appropriate action against the audit team member, because ethics are not followed while doing the audit work. So in that case, the firm has to be very, very careful. Now, when we say non-compliance, when we use this word non-compliance, what can it mean? So here they are given, first of all, if the engagement partner identifies and evaluates circumstances that create threats to independence. Remember in chapter number 11, we had done threats to independence. That is nothing but your, we had done a code called SEF, if you remember. Self-interest threats, self-review threats, advocacy threats, intimidation threats, and familiarity threats. Okay. Next, identify breaches of the firm's independence policy that creates threats to independence. So we will check the breaches of the firm's independence policy. And finally, we'll apply the safeguards or withdraw if it is appropriate. We'll apply the safeguards if required, or we'll withdraw from the work if it is appropriate. Okay. Let's go to the next one. Let's go to the third area. Now, third one is a pretty small area, so I'll just take you there. Very small part, please see here. How do you understand the engagement terms much more properly or in a better manner? The best way to do it is that put it in a contract, put it in a on a piece of paper, and let both the parties, the auditor as well as the client, sign it. In that case, this becomes a done and sealed deal, because everything is on paper and there is no confusion for that. So here they have said here, see, in the interest of both the entity, that is the client, as well as the auditor sends an engagement letter before commencement of the audit to help avoid, please here, avoid any misunderstandings, and also there should be no confusion with the client. Okay, so the terms are very, very clear. Okay, this completes the A part. Now let's go to the B part, that is called planning activities. Now, planning activities, my dear students, it's a big area, so you need to understand this step by step with me. Okay, let's see this. In planning activities, the first part is a big part. Okay, the first part is called establishing overall audit strategy. It has one, then it has a second part, third part, fourth part, fifth part, it goes on. So now in this case, first we'll see overall audit strategy, assistance to the auditor. Let's see this part. So whenever the auditor makes the audit strategy, auditor has to keep few things in mind. What are these things that the auditor has to keep in mind? Let's see this first. The auditor has to, first of all, ensure the number of people that he's going to take for auditing work. This is called amount of resources. That is the number of team members that the auditor assigns in his team. That the auditor has to keep it very, very clear. Second, the auditor has to see that what checking these people will do. So if you're carrying some number of people with you, what checking they will do. That is called deploy the resources for specific audit areas. What areas will they check? As for example, experienced team members will check high risk areas. Okay. The next part that they're given is, see this point, when you have assigned what work they will do, now you will decide when they should do the work. That is called when the resources are deployed. Example, if you understand that closing stock you will not check in the middle of the year, you will only check at the end of the year. So let's say in your team you have a person who is very good at checking the closing stock matters and ensuring that he goes to the clients, go down and ensure that the stock taking is done properly, stock checking is done properly. In that case, you will ensure that you are assigning him at the end of the year. That is called when the resources are deployed. And finally, how the resources are managed, directed, and supervised. How the senior manages the resources, manages the team members is very, very important. That gets covered in something called as strategy. Okay. Now we have the next part, which has various sub points, as I told you. So when I said here that this point number one has a lot of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When I meant 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I meant that it has 1, it has 2, and within 2 there are many points. So within 2 there are many, many points which come here. Okay, so let's see one by one. Factors to be taken into consideration by the auditor for establishing the overall strategy. So you have here they are given here now the factors part. Okay, now in factors part they have said here we have to consider the results of the preliminary engagement activities. Okay, preliminary engagement activities basically means before the work starts regarding audit strategy, what all should the auditor think about before the work starts? Auditor has to first of all gain knowledge from similar engagement that he has done in the past. So past knowledge he has to keep in mind. That can be with the same client or with clients which had similar features. Example, if I'm getting the audit of Axis Bank, and if I was previously doing the audit of HDFC Bank, then HDFC Bank audit will also experience will also help me in doing the audit work. Okay, let's go to the second one, please. Here, results of previous audit, uh, while evaluating the operating effectiveness of the internal controls, that is the policy procedures, the deficiencies in that, and the actions taken by the auditor to address these. That is basically results of the previous audits. And third is they are given here to have a questioning mind and to exercise what professional skepticism. Auditor should always have a questioning mind in place. Okay. Again, a beautiful chart is given for this. You can go through it, and I think the answer will come in a much more easier manner to you. Okay. Let's go further. Auditor has to identify the characteristics of the engagement and define its scope. So when you define the characteristics and define its scope, what does it mean? For this, we have done a separate simple answer called ABS APS. Okay, so ABS is applicable financial reporting framework. B and S is here. That is basically business segments you will check. So what are the segment that the client has? Suppose the client is into various industries, food and beverages sector. Client is into, let's say, gym equipment, sports equipment. So these are the business segments. Next is the specific reporting requirements. So is the client in an industry where specific requirement is required, specific reporting requirement is there. Next is audit evidence obtained from previous audit. Does the previous audit help you to get evidence regarding this year's audit, and some important evidence is there which is indicating of some maybe wrongful activities. And the next point is, that is, one second, ABS APS. One second, I'll just write the code here. Applicable financial reporting framework, your business segment. Then you have AP, sorry, my mistake. That is audit evidence obtained in previous audits is AP, and finally S is here. That is specific reporting requirements. Okay, so the order that we do is 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, this is what we follow. Okay, let's go further. Now, after that, we do this area, that is professional judgment of the auditors. So, auditors' professional judgment, they have said that auditor needs to have a professional judgment regarding various matters. So, question is, consider the factors that in the auditor's professional judgment are significant in directing the engagement team's efforts. So, auditor's judgment is crucial regarding which matters, regarding which areas. How much volume of transaction to check, that gets dependent on the how much the auditor relies on the internal control. If you rely on the internal control more, in that case your own substantive procedure checking will be less. But if your internal control, if you're relying less, then your volume of transaction for checking at the time of substantive procedures will increase. Then you look at a significant industry development depending on the client's industry. You look at the changes in the financial reporting framework, any changes that the financial reporting framework has changed. Basically, in India, currently we are following Schedule 3 plus AS or Ind AS. So if there is any change in that, then auditor will have to be careful. And third is other recent development that is there, especially in the legal environment. So if some laws are changing here, then in that case, the auditor will check this part also. Okay. Let's go further. Let's go to the next area, please. Here, ascertain the nature, timing, and extent of resources needed to perform the engagement. Now, see, when will you think of how many people I need or in which areas they should work? It depends on your nature, timing, and extent of resources depends on, a factor called as, and that main factor is risk. If the risk is more, your selection of engagement team members will change. Okay, so you will select the team members accordingly. Example, they have written here, see, if higher risk of material misstatement is there, in that case you will carry more experienced engagement team members. And again, if higher risk of material misstatement is there, you have to devote more time. So more devotion of time will be given to that particular area. Example, let's say the risk is very high in relation to sales transactions. So you will check sales transactions more, as simple as that. Okay. Let's go to the last one. Let's see this. That is ascertain the reporting objectives of the engagement to plan the timing of the audit and the nature of communication required. So this is basically what all should the auditor discuss in relation to reporting. Okay, so the first is auditor will discuss with the management the nature, I mean, extent of the audit work. The auditor will discuss with the management. So basically, nature, what work is to be done, timing, when it is to be done, extent, and how much depth it should be done. The auditor will discuss that with the management. The second thing will be in relation to discussion with the management regarding the expected communication on the status of audit work. Basically, throughout the year, the management can ask the auditor what is the status of the audit work, and the auditor has to reply accordingly to the management to tell about the status of the audit work. Point number 3, regarding my own engagement team members, we'll discuss two things. That is, when the team meeting should take place and how the review procedures will be carried out. Basically, when the team members do the work, if I am their senior, when will I review? How will I review their work, or when will I review their work? Regarding that, I have to finalize. And the last 2 points are basically here. See, the timetable for reporting is basically means you have to ask the client when what report is expected, because the client has to ensure that the AGM is kept for the final audit report. So final audit report will be given, it will be given along with the financial statement at least 21 days before the AGM to the shareholder. So you understand that for conducting the AGM on time, it is important that the reporting is done by the auditor on time. That is called timetable for reporting. Even for interim financial statement, you have to ask the management by when are they expecting the auditor to give the report. So that should be very clear in terms of communication. And the last point is discussion with the management regarding the expected type and timing of report. As I told you, type will mean for interim financial statement you give the review report, and for your um, audit, your final audit report will be in relation to the standards on auditing. Okay, so you will do the standards on auditing, and based on that you will give the audit report to the client. After that, you have the timing of the report when the reports are required. Simple. So that is basically the type and timing of the report, and here you have the timetable for reporting. Timetable for reporting. Simple to understand this area. Okay, that completes point number E. Now we go into the second part. So basically we did the first area, and from there now we are entering, we did the first part, now now we are entering the second part. Now second part is a slightly shorter one. So they have said here the auditor shall develop an audit plan which shall include a description of nature, timing and extent of risk assessment procedures, and if you know the, if you do the risk assessment procedures, you'll get the risk. So based on that you should do more work, and that is called further audit procedures you'll be doing by complying with the, complying with whatever is the situation that is there. And finally you will do the other audit procedures keeping in mind the standards on auditing, keeping in mind the standards on auditing. Simple. So let's say you're you're planning to check inventory. So regarding inventory, you'll do the risk assessment procedures. Risk assessment procedures are very, very simple. So basically, we'll be doing this in chapter number 4 also. But risk assessment procedures are analytical procedures, observation, inquiry, and inspection mainly. So auditor will do that. Based on that, he'll find some issues. So he has to do further audit procedures. And then basically, whatever the standard says, the auditor has to do that. Example, SA 501 regarding inventory litigation and claim segment information is given here in 501. So as per 501, the auditor has to comply with the standards on auditing and do the inventory checking. And for that, the auditor will have to comply with the procedures under 501. That is basically this point. Other planned audit procedures complying with the standards on auditing. That is covered here. Okay. Let's go further. Let's see this. Now we are entering the other read careful area. So these areas I tell the student never rote learn it, just read it, understand it properly. Very, very important. Okay. Now audit strategy provides a broad overall approach, whereas the audit plan addresses the various matters. Audit plan describes how strategy is going to be implemented. One very important thing students should not forget, and that is this line. I think in the class also I marked it a star for you all. Always remember, audit strategy and the audit plan are not necessarily discrete or sequential process. After audit strategy we do audit plan. It is not like that, not like that. Anybody tells you that, tell them they are wrong. Audit strategy and audit plan are closely interrelated. See what they are given, closely interrelated. So I always tell students in action, this is audit strategy, this is not audit plan. So audit strategy के बाद audit plan नहीं आएगा, audit strategy के बाद audit plan नहीं आएगा. Audit strategy and audit plan are like this. Audit strategy happens first, true, and audit plan in one way happens after audit strategy, true. But if there is any change in the audit strategy, there is a change in the plan. If there is a change in the audit plan, there is a change in the audit strategy also. So what I'm trying to tell you is they are closely interrelated. It is true that audit strategy happens first and audit plan happens next, but they are not sequential. It is not that when you complete the entire audit strategy, when audit strategy gets over, only then audit plan starts. It is not like that. It is not like that. Audit strategy happens first, audit plan is made later, but they are just closely interrelated to each other. Okay, be very, very careful about this important area. Next area they are given. Overall audit strategy and audit plan is auditor responsibility. It is the auditor responsibility to make this. Auditor has to also discuss the elements of planning with the entity's management. Okay, let's go further. Now we are doing something called as changes to planning decisions. So here, does your plan change when you make a study plan? Does it change? It may change because of what? It can be because of unexpected events, changes in conditions, or that example can be government decisions, or it can be audit evidence obtained from the results of audit procedures. When you obtain audit evidence, let's say the evidence is not what you expected. In that case, you may change your plan and you may check more areas. Okay. For that, we have done a code in the class called UCHA. Uncha or Ucha. Okay. So for all my Hindi speaking students, you can use Uncha. Uncha, as you know very well, is tall, or something which is having a good height. Uncha. And all my Kannada speaking students, you know very well what is the meaning of Ucha. Okay. So Ucha basically means a mad person. Okay, that is what the students told me. It's a ucha means a person who is a little crazy. So you can use the word ucha or you can say uncha. Anything is fine. In the end, all these codes and all I'm giving so that you are able to score well in the examination. So you can make code as streamlined as possible. But you have to score marks. That is the bottom line. Okay, let's go further. Planning, supervision, and review of work of the engagement team members uh, varies depending on factors, some factors here. So your direction supervision review or planning supervision review can vary based on certain factors. So direction supervision review is dependent on which factors? It is dependent on crazy factors, crazy. Okay. All the students in the class, if you remember, we had done an example of if there is a small boy versus a small girl. Small girls will normally listen to the mother, but small boys will normally run, jump, do this, do that. Small girls also do that, but small girls at least they are obedient, they understand. Small boys will just do, tuan masti. So you understand, I've given you this example regarding this crazy part, and I hope you are able to recollect. Now, what is C? Capabilities and competence. What is R? Risk competence misstatement. A is area of the audit, and C is size and complexity of the entity. Simple. So it depends on these factors. Let's go to the next one, or documentation of the audit plan. The auditor shall document the overall audit strategy. Auditor shall document the audit plan. Auditor shall document any significant changes to the overall audit strategy, audit plan, and the reasons for such changes. That all the auditor has to document mainly. Okay. Let's go to the next part, that is audit program. Now, the last part of this chapter. It has a few answers. Some read answers are there at the beginning. Then we'll do the main ones. So, what is audit program? It is basically a series of verification procedures for the purpose of obtaining sufficient evidence to enable the auditor to express an informed opinion, to give a proper opinion. Next, is one audit program practicable for all businesses? The answer is no. You have to remember a code called BVIC. So businesses vary in nature, size, and composition. Work which is suitable to one business may not be suitable to other business. Even if the businesses are in the same industry and are of the same level also, you will understand that their internal controls may vary. That is, their policy procedures may vary. The way bank A pays salary to the staff versus bank B, how they pay salary to the staff. Can there be difference? The answer is yes, even though the banks are in the same industry, that is banking, and even though the banks are maybe of the similar level in terms of turnover and the deposits that they have accepted, all these things are, let's say, similar, but still their internal controls may vary. Okay, let's go further. The assistants to keep an open mind. So basically what they're saying is the CA should keep an open mind. Sometimes when you are preparing something at the beginning, I'll just give you a gist of this answer. Sometimes what you had decided at the beginning, and when you actually start the work, you may feel like, okay, what I planned, this I don't have to do, or this is not necessary, or this is not required. This you may drop on the way because maybe your planning was not fully thought about. It is also possible that at the time of planning you did not think of some matter, but as the work went on, you realized that, oh, this is a very important matter for me to consider. So whatever your initial plan is, and as the work goes on after that, you may keep dropping some areas which are not necessary. And suppose a plan was made without taking some areas into consideration, and later on you realize that, oh, these matters are important, then you may add some areas as the work goes on. So what they're trying to say is that the CA should keep an open mind, the auditor should keep an open mind, and the auditor should ensure that the work goes on in a very smooth manner. Okay, let's go further. Now, periodic review of the audit program, very, very important. You should always review your program, very, very important. If the auditor sticks to an audit program from start to the end of auditing, even though changes are there and the auditor doesn't look carefully into those changes, the auditor will have to look here, see what they're given. The auditor will have to face legal consequences because he's being negligent, because the audit program is not important anymore. It has become an obsolete program. Obsolete means useless program because he did not review it. Okay, let's go further. Now we are entering the last set of four answers, that is basically constructing an audit program. In this, if you remember, we had done our famous Scully story. Remember Scully story? Okay, let's go for it. First is there is a boy named Scully. Scully is what? Scope and limitation. Scope and limitation. Let's go for it. Now in this case, the person makes a error in giving the gifts, that is considering all possibilities of error. Then after that, he gives him a spiritual book, and Scully makes rocket and throws it, and one rocket comes to his home. So he realizes that he made an error. After that, this person keeps in mind that, okay, even though at the beginning I had coordinated the procedures and I had gifted the Scully, spiritual book, but it was a clear error. Now I need to do something so that I makes Scully feel special. So he puts an alarm in his phone for his next year's gift to give Scully. That is called a written audit program. Now in this case, I told you that when he makes a written audit program at that time, he tells his wife also. Wife tells him to give a very good gift to Scully. That is, I told you set of instructions for the assistants. And finally, wife tells that you have to give him a Rabbu gift or a Rabbu gift, reasonably available, best and which is useful, reasonably available, best and useful. Okay, I'm 100% sure that all the students remember the story. Okay, just in this case, because the time is short, I'll not be able to explain the story with full emotions, but I hope you understand that if you have done the story with me, you will be able to remember the story easily. Okay, let's go further. Let's go further. Audit program is designed to obtain audit evidence. So audit evidence, when the auditor obtains, it can be of which types. So in this again, we did the Scully part 2 story. In that we first said he purchases the newspapers, that is documentary examination. He goes to a toy store, physical examination. Then he speaks to, remember, he speaks to the dog, and dog is nothing but Tommy. Tommy is what? Statements and explanations of the third party officials, management, employees. Then there is a girl who is riding a cycle, a small girl, her name is Erin. That is your arithmetical calculations and interrelationship of various accounting data. And then Erin says, call is school, miss you, miss you. What is miss you, miss you? Very simple. First is memorandum records, subsidiary records, and then finally you have minutes and subsequent action taken by the client. Finally, we decide to give Scully an iPad, that is internal control and internal check. Simple. After that, we did the next area, that is in relation to, remember this amazing answer called as advantages of Word program. This is that cake cutting story. Okay, so first of all, Scully's mother takes a total. Scully's mother gives a total perspective about the birthday party. She selects the assistants. She also gives us work, so she gives us clear set of instructions. Then she asks, "Did you understand? Remember, did you understand that is a mental plan?" We say, "Yes, we understood." Remember this? That is called accepting the responsibility. Finally, we all do our respective work. That is called various audits. During the cake cutting, there is cake throwing happening here and there, everywhere. That is called negligence. And as Scully's mother, of course, you know what she decides. She decides to ensure that next year onwards the cake cutting ceremony is more organized. That is, it is a guide for a succeeding year's audit. Okay, I hope you remember. She plans to, throw the cake directly inside the children's stomach so that there is no mess around. Okay, that is a guide for succeeding year's audit. Let's go further. Let's go further. Finally, the last answer of this chapter is called the disadvantages of audit. That is basically this. So you can see your disadvantages of not audit, sorry, disadvantages of audit program. So in this case, we had done that, sir. If the program is rigid and inflexible, then it will not help. It will, if the program is not supportive of your junior, it will kill the assistant's initiative. Very, very important. It will kill the assistant initiative and your enterprising ability. Next is, if the work is done without understanding of any object, then that becomes a problem again, because the work will not be done properly. And finally, inefficient assistants will shield behind the audit program. If they have done bad work, they will say, sir, the bad work happened not because we did bad work happened because the audit program was not that good. So the inefficient assistants will use the audit program as a shield. Okay, that completes this part. Easy. Now, my dear students, that completes your chapter 2 revision. If you are enjoying the revision series and if you want more, please encourage me by typing in the comment section what you liked, what improvements we can do, and let me know in the chat area. I'll be very happy to take your feedback. Also, always like and comment in anybody's video, any faculty's video you're watching, any teacher's video you're watching. Always comment, because it gives us encouragement to do more and more videos. And this I have seen with myself also. When the students write in the comment section, thank you sir, this really helped me a lot. Thank you sir, I had just half an hour to go for the examination and this chapter was pending, and sir, I just went through it, saw your video and just quickly did it. And sir, after the exam now I'm messaging you that everything went very well and 2 questions came from this chapter and it went very well. Thank you so much. You saved, you, because of you I got 6 to 8, I will get 6 to 8 marks in the examination. Now when students write like this, no, then that is the encouragement that faculties are looking for, and including me. So please ensure that you are commenting on our videos and ensuring that you are giving the encouragement to the teachers community, because then only we are motivated to do more work for the students. I wish you all the best. Take care. See you. Bye bye.